out, about to blow back up. I'll never let the doubt creep in. Gotta pop a couple more best friend. I don't think I'll ever let you in. Easier to break it off best friends. I don't really understand myself. I don't really understand need help. I don't wanna be the dawn of the show. Couldn't even hear me if I fell. It's so good. I'm alone. I'm alright. It's so cold outside. I'm alone. I'm alright. Yeah, let's go. I don't wanna break down. I always feel like I could break now, but I never let it take me to that place now. I will never let my thoughts get away now. I got better things to do, thinking big now. I just wanna be the best, call me great now. I don't know if I'm okay or insane now. I remember better days on the playground when I could find my way, even when I'm facing down. Even when I don't know what it's like. I'm a bigger side and I'ma take flight. I will decide my fate and die. Will never let them tell me who I am. If you try to shake me, I'll be damned. Planning on the ground is where I stand. Never give up, that was always the plan. It's so good. I'm alone. I'm alright. It's so cold outside. I'm alone. I'm You're never gonna make it, you're not good enough. There's a million other people with the same stuff. You really think you're different, and you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible, it's not probable, you're irresponsible. Too many obstacles, you gotta stop your goals. You gotta take it slow, you can't be your pro. Don't waste your time no more. Who the fuck are you to tell me what to do? I don't give a damn if you say you disapprove. I'm gonna make my move, I'm gonna make it soon. And I'll do it cause it's what I wanna fucking do. Cause all these opinions and all these positions, they come in millions, they blocking your vision. But no, you can't listen, that shit is all fiction. Cause you hold the power as long as you're trying to. There's no way that you make it. And maybe you can fake it, but you're never gonna make it. Aren't you just gonna take that? Make them take it all back. Don't tell me you believe that. Aren't you just gonna take that? Oh, baby, fucking fight back. Oh, baby, fucking fight back. You ain't gonna make it, you ain't never ever gonna break it. You can never beat them and they're better than you face it. Thinking that they give it if you're not, think it's straight kid. No, they don't give it if you got what I'm saying. I'm not fucking playing, I'll give it to you straight, man. There's too many others and you're not that great, man. Stop what you're saying, stop what you're making. Everybody here knows that you just fake it. Nah, I don't wanna hear it anymore, I don't wanna hear it anymore. All these fucking bums, they are not what I need anymore. I'm about to shut the motherfucking door on all you poor ass haters with your heads in the clouds. Talking out loud so proud, you better shut your goddamn mouth before I do more speak out. It's about to head south. You're never gonna make it. There's no way that you make it. And maybe you can fake it, but you're never gonna make it. Aren't you just gonna take that? Make They'll take it all back. Don't tell me you believe that. Aren't you just gonna take that? Or will you fucking fight back? Or will you fucking fight back? I have a dream, that's all I need. I'll make it happen with some work and belief. Know what I want, so I'll take it on. I'll make mistakes, but mistakes make you strong. Let's break it down for a minute. I want the crown, I'll go get it. You hear me loud, man, I'm winning. Yeah, Charlie Sheen will be grinning. These ladies know that I'm sinning, and this is just the beginning. I'm closing in the night, and there ain't no point in resisting. Living life like a dream, live it right, that's the thing. Every night, got a team, I've been tied to the scene. Out on stage, here on screen. Okay, it's a dream, and I pray as a team. One day, it'll be me. If I want it, then I'll get it. Head down, don't regret it. Push myself to the limit. If I play it, then I win it. I'm just saying, I'm just living for today. For a minute, I don't stay. I just lose it, have no shame. I didn't get it. Looking right on me to see if I succeed, to see if I believe. They're looking up to me. They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me. They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me. They want the best of me now. To God, man, I'ma make it soon. Silence all the haters as they see us making moves. I'll do what I want, so I got nothing to prove. Staying motivated, teaching others what to do. I'm staying focused, my mind is open. They start to notice that I'm in motion. There is no potion, you're not just chosen. It takes devotion to stay composed, man. Never stop, there ain't no time to fall. Try to live, get it up. You got one life to fall. Thinking big, never small, cause you gotta want it all. When you finally get that call, you get ready, take it home. Need a hand out, I already stand out. Starting to advance now, ready to expand now. You don't have a chance now, cause we're in demand now. We could buy the brand now, feeling in command now. They're looking right at me to see if I succeed, to see if I believe. They're looking up to me. They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me. They want the best of me now, best of me now, best of me now, best of me. They want the best of me now. single day I'm heading off to my dream, and I get everything that I damn well please. I don't give a damn if you all listening to me, cause I run it. I'm the only one that really want it. I'm the only one that's really on it. I'm just being honest. I'm just doing everything I promise, cause I want it better. Not that I'ma make it as an artist, and I know I'm not the smartest, and I know I'm not the largest, but I promise you that I'ma be the one that worked the hardest, cause I promise you that I'm just getting started. And I promise you that my skills are getting sharper, so I'ma get charted. Can't be guarded, nah, I'm the one to get retarded. Get the party started, yeah, get the party started. Yeah, so let me get up on it, yeah. Bitch, you got me fucked up. I don't know what's up. Pour that shit in my cup. We about to turn up. Crank this shit up so loud. Sounds like we're sold out. In front of the whole crowd. We lose control now. Don't take this shit too personally. Everybody got a different version of me. Everybody got
like it's east and west. But the whole team up, say that's north side. Mama lonely if I shoot the tech. And I'm 10 seasons in, still I'm coincide. Every day I'm going back to back to back to back to back, so ain't no neck to neck. Bitch pressing in the valley, growing stronger, only open up to check the text. Really know it's superhuman, I'm in overtime, they hate, so they check the chest. I've been doubting all my odds and crossing all my T's, right now I'm trying to curve the S.
Regista-te com 10€ grátis sem depósito. Betano.
Welcome to the grand finals weekend of Major 2 of FNCS. I'm so excited because this weekend we'll be finding out who'll be taking the second Acts of Champions of the year. I'm Frankie Ward. I'm joined by 11-2K and Mini Miner, aka the gods of the analyst desk, because this season's been about the Greek gods, but we've got some British ones for you. I hope that's okay. Levin, are you feeling powerful today?
I'm feeling all powerful, all knowing, all present. You know what I mean? I'm just excited. This is the time everybody gets excited for. The grand finals, we've all been waiting for it. I'm just glad it's here.
Earlier today, we were discussing the fact that Levin would know what everyone is thinking if that was his godly power. So, Levin, I want to put you to the test. What is Mini Miner thinking right now?
Mini Miner's thinking, wow, Frankie and Levin look so amazing today, and they are just the best at their jobs.
How did you know? Wow, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, I don't know how you got that. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. You got it.
Yeah, you know what? I would love to find out what Mini's superpower is. We might ask that in tomorrow's pre-show, because I have to say, Levin, you were farming on social this week, asking the question that's on everyone's lips.
Yeah, you know, you got to bait the engagement a bit, but I did want to genuinely know. I had to tweet out and I had to ask the world, who's winning EU FNCS this season? That's the question we're all wondering. It's why we're all here watching today. And, you know, I decided to pose a question to the world, Mini.
Yeah, tweet popped off as well. You see there's 0 likes, but you know, hopefully we got a lot of more replies. And we actually did get a lot of replies. We saw lots of different names that were thrown in the hat, and we wanted to have a little look at which of these teams we think could do well. Of course, break down how their season's gone, because we've had a bit of a rocky road for a few of the teams, Levin.
Yeah, no, for sure. There were a bunch of teams that we kept seeing repeatedly in those comment sections. So I thought, let's look at some of those teams, right? The first one, Malibuca Mustache. I saw their name pop up so many times. So many people think these guys are going to win. And understandably, right? Grimgate is just so strong. It's the POI we've all been talking about all season long. And these guys land there. So in theory, you know, they're the reigning champs. They're landing at the best spot. A lot of people think that is a recipe for a back-to-back win for them.
Yeah, Tayson and Venno, another team that are, I think, are poised to take home FNCS today. We'll talk about that later. This is a team that have had a real good success off spawn. They're 2 Titan players, of course, as well. They've actually switched their drop as well from that south side of fencing fields, more towards that north side. So I'm interested to see how they fare up there today.
Yeah, again, 2 teams filled with, you know, previous champions, and a lot of people think they're going to repeat. A duo that hasn't actually won an FNCS yet, that a lot of people said would win one this season, is Vico and Pink. So many people were saying Vico and Pink's name, and understandably, they've been incredible this season, right? They win both of the qualifiers. During the semi-finals, they look strong as well. These guys, you know, have some of the best end games we've seen of any team in the region so far, so understandable why a lot of people think Vico and Pink might just do it.
Another team, though, of course, that are in there. It's Cami and Seti, a team that we have to mention here. They're a team that a lot of people would say this is their time, this is their meta, this is their sort of strategy for the win. This is their ideal circumstance, and for good reason. They've only been below Surge once in all of their 18 games. We haven't seen them playing too much, though. That's my main question mark about this duo. We only saw them play 1 game of semi-finals, which they won, which is why they're here today. So lots to look forward to for that duo.
The one that I think surprised me the most in terms of a name that we kept seeing in the comments of that question, Chap and Teeny. My, oh my, so many people think Teeny and Chap are about to win FNCS. And for people who don't know, this is Chap's first FNCS Grand Finals. So the fact that so many people think this guy's about to come through and win his first FNCS just shows how good they are. And I think there is definitely some merit to people thinking they can win the FNCS this weekend.
But are they top of your top 5, Levin?
I think if I was to make a ranking of all those teams and who do I think is the most likely to win, Teeny and Chap wouldn't be on it. And in fact, I did make a list. So let's look at it, Frankie. Let's take a look at the list. I did rank all those teams, and the team I think of all of them that is going to win, if I had to pick, is Cami and Say. I've been flip-flopping a bit, I'll be honest. I've been doing a bit of back and forth. Initially, I thought it'd be Tayson and Venno, then I switched to Cami and Say, then I wanted to switch to Tayson and Venno again, then I switched back to Cami and Say, just because, you know, I think there's not much in it between the two. Like Cami and Say, the experience, these guys are top duo. I mean, they've been one of the better teams this season, And, you know, whenever they have a quiet season, they always seem to follow it up. The meta just fixed them perfectly, as we've highlighted already. I do think Cammy and Seti are going to be, you know, somewhere high up in the leaderboards. You know, this is a top team. They started working with Bloodex again this season, right? So they've got the extra input. I think they'll be good. I had Matabuka and Mustache a bit lower, just because, you know, even though they're great, the Grimgate situation's a bit funny, you know what I mean? Being contested and, you know, Surge stuff is a bit complicated. And we don't see back-to-back winners a lot. And Teeny and Chap, I just had them, you know, bottom just because you don't play your first grands and win. It just doesn't happen in EU, and I don't think it's happening now.
I have a feeling that Minimani, you have not said Cammy and Seti to top your list.
No, I haven't. We actually disagree on, I think, all of our picks. So let's throw up my top 5. And this is not a top 5 overall. This is who I think is most likely to win out of these 5 teams in that order. So Tayson and Venno, for me, they're a team that have utmost experience. I think Tayson in particular, and Venno, I suppose, as well, they're due a really, really good placement, particularly in grand finals. It seems like Tayson has the 15th place curse at the moment. The interesting thing about my list is I put Chap and Teeny quite high up. They're uncontested at that drop spot where, of course, Mongrel and Mr. Savage landed, which a lot of people call different things and different names. So I'm interested to see what they can do. They've been fighting a lot. They're one of those teams that will fight for their Storm Surge. And although it is Chap's first grand finals, I think they could give us a few surprises today. They seem to be playing the anti-meta, trying to double key for Surge, and we'll see how it pans out today.
Why is no one putting any respect on Vico and Pink's name? I'm absolutely outraged, so outraged that I don't want to look at you for a moment. I want to look at Jacob and Takata and see what they have to say.
Thank you, Frankie. Look, I love looking at Levin and Mini. They also had some great potential winners for this major too. But Jacob, let's talk about some honorable mentions. Janice and Flixie, they have uncontested Reckless Railways. Now, remember, the only match they had uncontested in the semifinals, they ended up winning. So if they can keep that momentum forwards now in the grand finals, I would love to see what they're capable of. But remember, they're contested by Pink and Vico. Levin talked a bit about it earlier, and if you remember all the way back from Major 1 Grand Finals, there was non-stop action for that Forecast Tower. Will it happen again though, Jacob? I don't know.
I mean, they definitely have the season to do just that. They have the second most high ground domination throughout the season so far, so they're definitely primed up and ready to go. I have that same thought about being uncontested. Will it work out? Will it not? We don't have to wait long to find out, but we have so many other names. We have Queasy, Thomas, Vanyak, Swizzy. Who else do you think could take it, Takata?
Look, Marius Sangild. On TikTok, you ask them who's gonna win, Marius Sangild, right? They've been popping off, but they're contested by another 2 duos in the Underworld. So there's 3 total duos there. It's like a Grimgate 2.0, so it's gonna be difficult, but we'll hope that they can manage it.
Yeah, definitely, especially they are triple contested. They know how to fight these fights. They know how to get out alive. They place 5th in Major 1. So I could definitely see another top placement coming out of these guys as long as they can play 12 straight games as consistent as possible. That's gonna do it from me and Takata and our thoughts on some of these teams. Back on you guys on the desk.
Thank you so much, guys. I look forward to hearing you commentating the action in just a moment. Now, I've been digging back into the old Fortnite proverbs, and I found one of my favourites. Where there's a living, there's a list. Obviously, the Fortnite Reddit had spelt your name as Livin instead of Levin 2K, but I'm pretty sure they meant you. So take us through your grand finals Levin's list, please.
Yeah, there's a couple things I think we can expect to see. The first one, if we bring up the list here, Grim Reapers. Let's talk about it. The Grim Reapers, Trip and Fedoxy. I mean, these guys have been cooking up devious plans for Grimgate. They don't actually land there, but we just seem to see them there every single game, Mini-Man. I think these guys are going to be a real thorn in the side of any of the teams landing at Grimgate, and I think we can expect to see them completely dominating in some of these games.
Yeah, it's absolutely ideal for these guys because they can take advantage of all the great things that Grimgate has to offer without actually 50-50 that chest, without actually landing there. So they kind of get the best of both worlds. Sometimes when they do get that Grimgate coin and the shotgun, they seem to pop off really more often than not, right? We see them in the end game on height sometimes as well. So really excited to see what those guys can do today.
Yeah, the next thing I really wanted to talk about, even though we touched on it already, was just Rookie of the Season, Chap. I mean, it is mind-blowing to me that so many people think a guy who's never played in the FNCS Grand Finals before is just going to win his first one. And even though I don't think that's going to happen, I do think we will probably see the best placement from a player playing in their first Grand Finals in the last 2 years at least, right? Within the last 2 years, I think the best placement we've seen was from Pixie and Della, who placed 5th in Chapter 4. I think Chap will place better than 5th this weekend, and so we'll see one of the best performances we've seen in a long, long time.
I need to ask about number 3, 11. This is slightly awkward because it says Cammy's curse, but you put Seti and Cammy as actually winning this weekend. Explain yourself.
Yeah, so I do think they're most likely to win, but I will say shout out to my guy Reese Hub, right? Reese Hub did do some digging, and he discovered that in every single chapter of competitive Fortnite since chapter 2, Cammy has had a poor placement in season 1 and then gone on to come 5th in the next season. And if we look at chapter 5, Major 1, they didn't have the best placement, and so if Reese Hub's, correct with what he's dug up here, they should, in theory, place 5th. I hope he's wrong in that. But yeah, big ups to Reese Hub. I thought that was really interesting that, it seems to be a very common pattern. Literally since chapter 2, bad placement, then 5th the next season at the start of every single chapter.
I'm intrigued about this duo, right? Because this seems to be their meta to succeed. We have a lot more sort of surge base. We have a little bit less fighting, I suppose, to last season. I'm looking back and thinking back to Chapter 4, Season 2, and I think that was quite a W key heavy season, right? Remember, we had those slurp juices, we had those kinetic blades. It was very much that sort of same vibe as last season this time, so I think this could play in their favor. I think that curse is going to be broken today, and I do think they'll do well. I know I didn't put them at first, but I do think they'll do well.
100%. Well, look, let's go into the next thing, right? I highlighted Surge Towers there. Let's talk about it. It's been the meta this season. Surge Towers are so prominent. And so I thought, Minnie, what's the actual best Surge Tower? We see everybody basing up everywhere all over the map. There's always so many. And so I thought it'd be, perfect for us to go look at the stats. Shout out to Progeny Analytics. We looked at the stats. Which Surge Tower accumulates the most damage in the first 14 minutes of the game, right? And we got an answer. Let's look at all the bases. We got an answer. There is one in particular that does more damage than the rest, and it is the one at Fencing Fields. 1,600 damage it dealt during the semi-finals in EU in the first 14 minutes. That base accumulated the most damage, and I think we'll probably see the same again this weekend, right? That base is just so good because all those players in the south rotating through. It's easy pickings. Tayson and Venom will be very happy to see that stat because obviously that's a base that they typically are using. But yeah, I think we'll see that base be phenomenal for Surge.
I'm kind of intrigued about that as well, because of course Tayson and Venom were landing on that south side of Fencing Fields. They seem to get so much surge from there, right? Tayson was in that base doing so much damage more often than not. Now they're landing in a different area in that POI. Are they going to be the team that's going to be basing up on top of that? I'm not too sure, Levin. Do you think they're going to be up there?
I mean, it'll be interesting. We'll see, right? But you mentioned them being contested, and shout out to my guy Shakespeare. To be con or not to be con? That is the question. And I think when you look at the way Major 1 went, it was to be con, right? Everybody wanted to be con because we saw so many teams doing so much better while being contested. Typically, Frankie, that's just not how Fortnite competitors been, right? It's always been, we want to be uncon. That's the best way to have success. In Major 1, 3 of the top 5 teams were contested. Teams were contested doing phenomenally. However, this season, I don't think will be the case. I don't think we'll see teams who are contested doing as well as they did last season. But again, it will still just be the question to be con or not to be con. What will it be? Who will be successful? We'll see.
Who is the best team at fighting off spawn, would you say right now, Mini Mano?
It's tough. It is tough because I feel like we haven't got that one team that's just absolutely dominating their drop spot. It's tough to say one name. I'm thinking Mustache Malibuka. They haven't had the best time, but when they do seem to be on their game, they seem to be doing very well. In terms of another team, maybe Volko Vortex is there at Pleasant Piazza. I'm interested to see how that fight goes. It seems like last season they had a really solid season whilst contested there as well. So that's a team that, of course, I'm going to have my eye on because I always do. But yeah, I think there isn't that set one team that seems to be just dominating their drops, which makes it really, really interesting. And this whole Grands is made really interesting because of that.
Levin, are you surprised we're not seeing more Grim Reapers, aka the Trip Redoxy style where you're dropping outside that place everyone wants to be and then creeping up and taking the pickings?
I mean, yeah, I think they would have inspired a bunch of teams, all over the world when it comes to FNCS. I think we'll see a lot more people doing it as the games progress. And with just how strong, the Grimgate loot is, I think we'll see more teams try it progressively through the 12 games. It's a lot of games, Frankie. You might get to game 10 and think, well, we're a bit low down in the leaderboard. Let's try to get our way up. What's the best way to do that? Let's try win Grimgate. Yeah, there'll be a couple teams trying to reap through Grim, for sure.
Well, I'm so excited to be able to say that we are ready for our first game of the Major 2 Grand Finals. And I can't think of two better voices to take us through all the action than Jacob and Takata.
Thank you so much. Look, we've been through the qualifiers, we've been through the semifinals, and now, Jacob, the moment has arrived for the EU FNCS Grand Finals. I'm excited. There's so many potential champions competing here today, and I truly have no idea who's going to take it.
Yeah, it's really, really kind of awesome that we talked about 9 different duos throughout the start of this broadcast that we think has a good chance to take home the Axe of Champions after this weekend. And even though we've only mentioned 9, I know there's probably about 5, 6, 7, 8 more waiting in the rings just to have their names shouted out and earn the respect after the 6 games on the day today.
Yeah, I mean, there's even potential records to be broken, right? We talked a little bit about it. Chaptini, first EU FNCS Grand Finals. People are saying they could take it home. Only time will tell. The bus is ready, and let's get right into game number 1.
Será que acabamos de descobrir porque é que a Carlsberg é provavelmente a melhor cerveja do mundo?
The moment you have all been waiting for, game 1 of the EU FNCS Major 2 Grand Finals, and all the theory crafting, all the thoughts, everything goes out the window because now is the time to put everything to the test. And just like we thought we were going to see, Takata, a contested Grim Gates drop spot right out of the gates.
No better place to start from what we've seen throughout this season. Grim Gate, one of the most powerful POIs, but also most popular and congested ones. Duos love dropping here. You do have the potential to get that dash medallion. Merstash Malabuka have won the drop here. They've gotten the best place to drop at with that top chest. So with 2 other duos contesting here, and even the potential third party from Trippern and Fredoxy, danger is awaiting them.
Yeah, because of all those teams around the outskirts, you could see them in the mini-map. This is not going to be an easy fight or an easy situation for anybody at Grim Gates to be in, but neither is this over on the other side of the map, Mount Olympus, an almost triple, an almost quad contested drop that we've seen throughout the qualifiers up to this point. We're still seeing 3 teams directly there, a couple more on the outskirts. So for Queasy and Thomas, a lot of the struggles that they've had from the qualifiers to the semifinals, they need to be able to tighten up here. They need to be able to tighten up this weekend if they want to take home the Axe of Champion, which would be Thomas HD's first.
I mean, great way of starting as well with that quick elim. Neither Queasy or Thomas have ever placed outside the top 10 in the second FNCS of the year. So if they can maintain that statistic, we should see them pull off quite a performance here today. CZB Nathan over at Grand Glacier, another duo contesting them, but so far no eliminations on the board.
Yeah, CZB and Nathan we're a team that you're so hyped up throughout all this process, you know, consistency out of this world. Unfortunately, just unable to really get that win through the 10 matches of the win and you're in situation, which happened on Friday and Saturday of the semifinals. But you know how good they can be in a consistency style format. If they can channel all that here in this weekend, we could definitely see them at the top of the list to end the day.
Scrapped and Skrill now maintaining the higher position here at the Grand Glacier, so they do have the advantage in terms of vision and potential opportunities to take some shots at CZB and his duo when they start rotating. But you can see, even though they want to maintain this position, they're still making use of their time by farming up, getting those materials and everything they need to continue on to the late game.
And I've seen a lot of like slow action right out of the gates. It wasn't until maybe Zone 5, the most common and consistent zone, where Storm Surge would turn on, activate, and really cause a lot of carnage around the lobby. Sometimes in some of those lobbies it was earlier in Zone 4, and that's why you see Knobs, you see Cringe. They're trying to go after their opponents, get the early damage, especially since they already have the first of these 2 eliminations. So it's just about sealing the deal, finishing the job as he takes down Twin Cringe.
Another great way to start it, but be careful. Engagements like these that could take much longer. The build fight has already broken out, and the pursuit is what's going to continue here unless, yeah, it actually looks like it might just be a full-on disengagement here. Dexy is not going to be pursuing them, as they were the ones that were kind of boxed up in that build fight.
Yeah, you're saying a lot of these early game disengages coming out. They're just getting a couple shots for Storm Surge, and they want to make sure that they play the full game out and not bite up more than they could chew at any moment. Marco, Asa, they just separate their opponent. They already had the first elimination. That looks like Vocal and Vortexers are down and out of this game.
Another box fight here on the edge of the underworld. It's going to be Turtle and Chiefs up against Trash and his duo partner. But you can see from a lot of these engagements we see, especially in game 1 of Grand Finals, these duos don't want to get eliminated, but they also want to have enough damage to set themselves up for that mid game. So a lot of the time they'll get into these box fights or potential kind of back and forths, taking shots at each other, but not fully committing to anything.
Yeah, just join back on over to Pleasant Park. You got to imagine Goba and Kilba heard this fight from far away, and they're just trying to disrupt it. Do what they can to get some damage, but I think it might have taken them just a little bit too long to move on over in this direction, so they're not going to get the same advantage on this fight in which they wanted when they kind of started and moved over in this direction, and that's why you see them disengaging. Instead of making those big risks, starting a box fight early on the game, especially when their loadout isn't even that good, so I like this decision coming out of them, just to kind of peek in the direction, get information, then move on with the rest of the game.
Yeah, that was a duo that actually originally was dropping at the Underworld, so not sure if either they rotated out instantly or switched up their drop spot. But Trippin for Doxy, we talked about them earlier on, well, Levin and Mini did. They've been consistently third-partying Grim Gate after looting up their drop spot, and it looks like if we switch back over, the engagement has not concluded yet, and it looks like it's not going to conclude anytime soon.
Yeah, it's just one of those situations where the fight is just so prolonged, it's almost not even worth it to engage in one another at this point, and that's why you see teams taking different positions around Grim Gates. But meanwhile, Malibu and Mustache making the heads-up play, boxing around where the medallion will spawn, but they just have to be careful, because when the boss actually does spawn exactly that, it terrorizes and breaks some of the builds, make it easier for you to get shot. But Malibu and Mustache, they kind of have their eyes on the prize, no real distractions coming their way, so this should be an easy loot gather.
Careful though, as Trip now, from comfortable to eliminated, has gone down, and it looks like it was a full-on elimination, no knock, so Prodoxy as well was eliminated previously. Both players now out of game 1.
Yeah, just really unfortunate circumstances. Just trying to disengage, trying to stay alive, do what works and got you to this point, because that Prodoxy and Tripper, they were just the ones landing around Grim Gates and taking advantage of all the opportunity that was around there with the contested drop. You can see just kind of getting caught off guard, not necessarily knowing it's a full duo, a solo, thinking it's much easier than it is, and just overstep your boundaries, just one too many steps there in that fight.
Teeny making use of that water-bending mythic. You can see on this forecast tower, just looking to see if he can get some shots on any of the other duos or players rotating. There's only 2 on the mini-map that you can see, so it's almost like the back and forth between them at this point, both with the water-bending mythic. Trying to avoid getting tagged while doing as much damage as you can.
Wow, this is a big moment right here. Forecast towers. We talked about how good this team is. Probably 5th on multiple lists to get in that top placing here. And with the forecast tower, they can get off to a hot start in this game. Possibly turn this into a top 5 placing and get themselves on a roll. And this is why we keep jumping around the action all around the map. Snazy, Podesai contesting over towards Fencing Field. Tayson Veno on the other side. And Tayson, even though he's able to gather a lot of loot during this drop, he doesn't want to give any free loot over to anybody else.
Why would you? Especially if you're Tayson and Veno. Basically having the north side of Fencing Fields uncontested throughout the day. But it doesn't hurt to take those shots at the opposing duos here, but you can see always maximizing their efficiency, whether it's looking for tags, farming up, or even finishing up your loot path. Cami Seti, Levin's pick for our Major 2 champs this year. They do also have an uncontested drop spot, so they can play for that consistency like we love to see them do.
Already you can kind of see the zone, I wouldn't say fully pulling in their favor, but they know it is moving a little bit towards the south. They got to imagine teams are coming in their direction, and this is the decision. They're going to split up just a little bit, try to cover more ground, get a couple more loot that they want for their loadout, and maybe some shots from Storm Surge before they figure out what's next. But from smooth sailing on one side of the map, Takata, not so smooth on the other. Underworld, we saw how contested it was to start the day off, and already this is no surprise to me what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, you can see how it's affected Marius and Sandguild. Both players being low on HP and not exactly low on shield, but it not being full just shows you something. They do have that legendary banana they can use to recuperate their HP, but it's especially difficult even to take an engagement with this amount of HP, let alone just stay up and loot. So I'm curious to see how they're going to come back from this situation.
Yeah, they have options when it comes to heals, the splashes, the banana, but the choice is theirs. And two titans of the game already battling out what looks like for a closed bunker. Thomas and Queasy, Reason and Vidal on the other side. I'm just trying to think who has control of the actual bunker, but that's almost a moot point because you cannot go down there without risking getting trapped down there from any one of these teams, not the one that you're just fighting, but you see in the minimap, it is littered all around with players looking in this direction to try to get their own Storm Surge.
Like, I saw a lot of doubters for Thomas HD and Queasy based on their performance throughout the season, also being contested by another two duos in Mount Olympus. But I don't know, Jacob. I've got faith in this duo. Historical titans of EU competitive. And you know how they perform. When it's grand finals, it's time to show what you're made of. But Queasy has been cracked. Thomas HD now dropped to 21 shield. Danger for both duos.
That team, that secondary team or third or fourth, whatever you want to call it in the minimap, those are the ones looking in that direction, causing a lot of chaos and kind of left Queasy open, susceptible to a lot of those shots. And that's where you see Reason Vidal taking that opportunity, move down into the bunker, take what they were actually fighting for. And you notice Queasy, Thomas, instead of waiting, they're just trying to continue on with the rest of their game. They know they're not going to get a lot of loot staying for that bunker, so they have to look for it elsewhere.
Back to Tayson Benel, still fencing fields. As now I'm looking at the surrounding area, what it's looking like in terms of duos, even surge bases, as this is a popular location to build some up. It does depend on how the zone ends up closing. You can see even in the feed, Marius has gone down.
You can kind of see this is one of those situations that I think might benefit Veno and Tayson just a little bit. The zone moving in this direction. They don't have to go on the hunt for Surge. There is a team nearby, and eventually, if they pick that right spot, you were talking about those Surge towers, there'll be so many more other teams moving on in this direction. As you look on board, Yanis Flixie, top 5, or I should say top 16 in that last major. You might be looking at them to get top 5. You're seeing the Wings of Icarus coming out. Something that you don't see very, very often, but you're seeing some teams begin to utilize it more and more and more, being able to cancel bounce. You cover so much distance. And Takata, this is just without the Flowberry and the Flowberry Fizz effect, because if you combine those two, you cover even more distance to try to get towards the zone. So even though there's not a ton of mobility in this season, sometimes it just takes a little bit of thinking outside of the box.
All right, the Flowberry meta. It's almost a must-have throughout this season. Nice little shot from Yanis through the tree. You can see how crucial it can be to have good aim with these DMRs, with the amount of damage they can do, and the potential it has for getting those tags in the mid-game.
And this is something I think Yanis and Flixie have to do. Instead of getting contested like Sky and Scroll that they did throughout the semifinals, they're uncontested. They're not going to get the same damage numbers to start the game off like they have almost all of last weekend. So them, just like many other teams, are going to have to kind of set up in one of these spots, whether it's Surge Tower or not, maybe even split up to try to cover more ground and get your Surge that way. Comeback and Blaha, you see them just trying to continue to move forward from one spot to the next. They get themselves a spot just inside of the zone, but you can notice that they're still above the mountaintop, trying to give them as much elevation and as much line of sight as possible.
Still 80 players up as well. It's a stacked lobby. Storm Surge will be taking here, but you can see as soon as Rift Island spawns, and Alexado ready to capitalize on that, capture the flag, and now put themselves in a position to not only get tags, but also have an open rotate for further zones.
For me, the Rift Island moving all the way south in this direction is at least a hint. It's a little bit of an indicator of where the next couple of zones are going to go, depending on where this next fourth zone closes. It usually does move away from Rift Island. So you see teams like Andalex and Sado, Cammy and Seti just on the right, that they are positioned close by. They start to think, they start to try to be proactive, and you got to think, where are you going to start to rotate from next? Because you got to do it a little bit sooner than later, because all those teams moving in from the north will start to crowd that area.
You can see here, edge of zone. How many duos are kind of stacked up, both in and out, as now Storm Surge threshold appears on the screen for these players, letting them know how much more damage they might have to do, or if they're safe for the meantime. Teeny, even though he is safe, you can never have enough Storm Surge, so we'll continue looking for those shots.
Trying to see, they rotated all the way towards the south. Again, you're seeing the wings of Icarus come out. And for a team like Queasy and Thomas, this has been adaptation on the fly. You know as well as I do, throughout the entire qualification process, semifinals or not, they have taken a long time to rotate out of zone. And it costed them dearly as soon as they got in towards zone. So I like picking up the wings, take less time while you are in zone, and then finally reach it. You could swap those out at a moment's notice for a much better position on the map.
I'm looking here at Veno and Tayson, and they're only 49 above, but to be fair, if you look at the amount of duos surrounding them, there should be options here for tags, maybe even getting up close and personal, to this engagement that's going on in front of them. Even a potential third party that could come through here, as now they're going to try and crouch up and be as sneaky as possible, see if they can catch someone off guard.
Yeah, not too surprising that they are low on surge, though. Zone coming this direction. They landed at fencing fields. I'm not sure if they even left the POI almost all game long, but as the zones do continue to close, you see a lot of teams getting closer and closer together. It's just a little bit more of a risky situation for Tayson and Veno to try to get the damage, but two of the best fighters in all of the region, let alone maybe all of Fortnite. I wouldn't be too worried for them. Skrill's going to be the first target. Shields get dropped off in the blink of an eye. Scrapped is there as well. He takes another big shot, and now they are 169 above the damage threshold. They quickly disengage because they no longer want to keep themselves in that risky spot.
You can see they don't need eliminations. They just want to set themselves up for the upcoming zones, and damage was all they wanted from that, especially with the amount of duos in the surrounding area. It's very risky to take on a full engagement here.
Well, some people don't like the risk. Other people have to take the risk. Malabuka Mustache contested over at Grim Gates. When we tune in, they were below the damage threshold. Couple nice shots, quick fights. They're 23 above, but you know as well as I do, that's not a feeling of comfortability. In the back of Malabuka Mustache's minds, they know they have to continue to look for surge and make a rotation while they're at it.
One damage above the blessing, granting them a bit more time, but quickly enough, that blessing will come to an end as Mustache now almost cracked. Just 3 shield left. They're forced now to play up close and personal. Close opportunity, but so far no connections.
Yeah, I like the idea of what they were trying to do, how they were trying to execute. Drop on a team that doesn't know it's coming, but now you become the focal point. Sky and Scroll are there. Malabuka's trying to fight. He's by himself, and he gets knocked. Taken down. Mustache has the world of his shoulders trying to stay alive. Game 1 of the EU FNCS, and you never imagined to be stuck in a situation like this after getting all that Grim Gate loot. And now 2 different duos closing in on Mustache. But this could be a great chance for Crimson Nod, Sky and Scroll to fight to try to distract one another.
Oof, Mustache looking like the lettuce on a sandwich between Sky Scroll and Noms, his duo partner there. So this is not a position you want to be in, especially just having lost your duo and still being below on Storm Surge, forcing you to play aggressive and leading to Mustache going down.
It's just really unfortunate for a team like Malabuka Mustache, probably one of the favorites to win, favorites to go back-to-back. We can't be too scared, can't fret too much. Day 1, 6 games. Day 2, point multiplier on those 6 games, so plenty of time for any teams to really pick up the pace and catch up. And that's why I think today it's so important that players start to build themselves a cushion. Get yourself a huge lead, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
You don't, I don't, nobody does. Look at this, though. They played aggressive. They got a bit of damage, but now once again, just 8 above. Same situation that Malabuka and Mustache were just in. Any second, and you could go below here.
I do like how they're backtracking, though. This is fencing fields. They've been here all game long, literally, which is why they're down on surge. So they're able to go in and out of these builds, go through unnoticed, not let their position be known either, which kind of makes for an easy rotation when they're finally able to make it. Really only one tough team stands in their path, and they're high up on this mountain where Veno and Tayson are not afraid to box up next to them either. And you see the zones moving, 6 zone. A lot of our competitors here today, Takata, are going to get forced into the interactions this late if they're slow to rotate.
I don't think I've ever seen so many duos just be 1-2 shots away from the Storm Surge threshold. Down to 7 above now. Trulex right into the box alongside Chicho.
No HP.
They take down 1, but 1 more to go. Are they going to continue the pursuit as time keeps ticking? HP keeps dropping. Trulex gets knocked from the zone, but Chicho cleans it up.
Yeah, as a 2-tick and the zone closes, it's going to be a 5-tick. Chicho has no choice but to leave Trulex behind and continue on with himself, which is almost a reverse. It literally is was almost the reverse of how they got to the grand finals in the first place. Chicho went down. Trulex was forced to clutch up. I think he got like 38 or something solo impact points, which was huge for their moment with it being only 3 games. So now, Chicho, it's your turn to return the favor, buddy.
Be careful, though. There was a duo. If they were just turned around looking, could have been a free pickup onto Chicho, but now he's got it into zone, making a lot of boxes here to show that he's not low on materials, even though he is. Will he get time to off the med kit, though?
It's just unfortunate because he has to use all these materials just to stay alive, but the more he uses, the more he's putting himself in a situation to have to get some sort of elimination. Gets out of the focus of one team, right into the focus of another team. He just needs some chance to breathe here and get that med kit off. He has 8 points, those 2 eliminations. One team, Takata, needs to go down, and then placement points will start to come in.
Take a look at what Cammy and Seti have been doing. Oh, Pink.
Uh-oh.
Gets knocked down. Quick combo of the water bending plus Seti taking shots. I don't know if Vico's going to be still up as a solo, but either way, not a position you want to be in. I believe both players did get eliminated, so they're out of game 1, but Snazy Podosai, 161 above, actually looking quite strong.
You know, I was talking to a lot of people, both NA, EU, talking about these wings, talking about how fabulous they are from rotation, and nobody really used them. You know as well as I do, very few teams really use them at all. Now we're seeing them as a huge focal point of a lot of people's rotation strategy, especially here into the end game, where you need to cover those short distances in one quick burst.
Once again, taking a look, Benno Tayson. They've been kind of on that borderline threshold of being above Surge this whole part of the game, basically. But so far, they've been doing it well. Queasy Thomas are actually going to be the duo that's close to them. I'll still continue just looking for these shots, but it's basically just getting yourself in a position where you can play this late game out with still a good amount of loot. Materials have been used to try and find these tags, but all it really takes is one refresh in the late game, and then you're back in business.
Yeah, it almost feels like Venno and Taysom right now are just taking things so slow. They're letting the game kind of play out, one, and probably do the same thing in game 2. And once they get a feel of how the entire lobby is playing, I expect them to come online just a little bit more. Thomas and Queasy changing things up drastically. 4 eliminations up until this point. Have to be feeling good when it comes to that Storm Surge, but a max pull for them and a couple other players in the lobby, which isn't going to be hard for them to cover that distance. You see the wings yet again coming out, which makes rotations like this, and you see how many other teams they now have just bypassed on this rotation and gained priority over.
It's what you love to see. I mean, Queasy's 2 of Queasy's 3 FNCS titles have come in the second FNCS of the year. So now that we're here once again, it might just be time for Queasy and Thomas HD to pop off. But I don't want to speak too soon. This is the first match. It's 2 days of competition, 6 matches each day, a total of 12. And the ones who look like they might potentially be able to hold height here, it's Cammy and Seti, which might be something a little different that we would have expected. But at the same time, they could just be looking for tags here, and they'll drop down later. You can see how good of a position this is, especially when you have that waterbending mythic capitalizing on all the players rotating in.
My biggest worry for them is their materials. If somebody tries to battle for height, they won't be able to hold on to it. Podosai Snazy, they go down to Swizzy and Vanyak. Huge elimination for them. But knocking on the door right after is Queasy Thomas. He takes a huge shot, getting fought back, even knocked down by Vanyak and Swizzy. Teamwork is too strong coming out of them. And now Thomas, he's going to feel the pain. Vanyak ready to go in, but he quickly backtracks, reunite, not knowing to get too greedy in a situation like this in the endgame.
Looking so strong from 4 elims to both players being up and healthy to now Thomas HD cracked, 75 effective HP and shield, 0 builds, and just 6 minis to recuperate what he's lost.
Thanks to those wings, though, I'm not necessarily too concerned. The biggest thing is those resources, the builds, or I should say the lack thereof it. Here's both Vanyak and Swizzy rotate on out. No, he's in a much safer position for now, but how safe can you really be without materials? Even if you rotate out of the spot, you got to find a way to catch yourself one way or another.
You said you're not concerned. I'm concerned, Jacob. I am very concerned right now. 0 materials in a grand finals. I mean, you can beat Thomas HD, but it's not going to be easy. You can even see Tace and Benno, both players down. Maybe Hold my thought though. Thomas with another elim now dropped to 25 HP. Still no shield to work with as he's just playing the back end of zone here, trying to scavenge as many placement points as possible.
Yeah, another elimination. He was the one who actually took down Veno. Wings keeping him alive. Up layer, down layer. Zone's gonna pull back, and he found the perfect crevice to try to stay alive, but he has to watch out. Risk and Svi rotating on by right next to him, but I don't think they or anybody else have noticed Thomas up to this point.
Prime location. All it takes is a bit of awareness, though, from the duos in the surrounding area to find Thomas HD. It's a free elim. Chapantini, Jacob, game 1 on the high ground.
You would never have guessed this is Chap's first FNCS finals. He is playing like a veteran, like he's been here more than enough, but Vanyak has definitely been here for sure. Down goes Teeny, down goes Chap. High ground changes hands, and at the perfect moment in the end game.
This isn't a qualifier. This isn't the semifinals. This is the grand finals, and Chapantini learned that quickly.
You know what, Scroll, Sky, they have plans of their own as well. Everybody fighting in the late game, trying to topple over height, forcing them down. They didn't have the builds to keep on pursuing that high ground, so they had to drop down in a top 10 situation, second height. But look how far away from they are from everybody else on that low ground, and they had no choice but to continue dropping down in all that madness.
Cami and Seti playing like we love to see, full-on consistency. They've claimed low. They're incredibly healthy. Only issue is no materials. They're going to have to take a 2 versus 2 here shortly. Can they come out on top?
Yeah, he mentioned the Cami curse to start the show. Might look like a Cami blessing, another top position. Unfortunately enough, Cami's finally going to go down. Seti trying to go to the back, cancels the med kit, had no choice. Thank God his Splash going to be the ones to take them down, along with a little help from Debut, who actually steals away that elimination. Top 5 position with everybody looking strong as duos.
Skavi, Haris now. Looks like their second height here. They do have to be careful as they look above. Scroll, get shots taken at. They are building in wood. They might be low on materials. The drop down might come soon.
Yep, but Swizzy and Vanyak still waiting in the wings. They were the ones to play Busters and Disruptors once. Almost tries to find another elimination, but Font takes him down. Ends the run of Swizzy and Vanyak at top 5, but you can see he's still going through a roller coaster of emotions, trying to make it in zone, trying to stay alive, but high ground's going to be fought for at the very end of the game. Scroll and Sky versus Riss and Skvi.
Nice shots connecting from Sky here. Just one more needs to connect to take down the last player, but Scroll has been fully cracked.
Wow.
Sky cleans it up, though. Another elim on the board. They have height. They just need to close out the game.
A huge change up from the semifinals. They were the ones contesting Yanis and Flixie. They went down in almost 2-3 straight games. They've learned their lesson. They've adapted, and they're trying to come out on top, but unfortunate accidents happen. Sky goes down, which leaves Scroll in a 1v2 to end game 1.
Have to be careful, though, as players start moving up. Scroll now is put in a difficult situation, but he takes down one. Debule now playing the heal off. He does have 2 med kits in terms of time. Scroll needs to find Debule. He will not win this heal off.
Yeah, he has to figure out at least what direction to run into. The first one's going to go down. He dives into the storm, checks the first bush. Nowhere in sight, nowhere to be found. Relvis and Debule win game 1 of the EU FNCS.
What a way to start off the grand finals, from height getting changed every second, duo by duo. Cami Seti attempting to survive on the low ground. This is how you want to start a grand final.
Hey, and this has shown us a little bit of foreshadowing that it is not going to be easy for any one of these teams. You called it. Seti and Cami having high ground. Vanyak and Swizzy stealing it away. And at the very moment, Sky and Scroll. But it was none of those high grounds teams. It didn't matter how high in the sky you were at to end the game. Debule and Relvis going almost unnoticed on the low ground with 7 eliminations to take the game away.
I mean, they showed the chemistry. It's what led them to those final moments. You had Titans going down before that. Tace and Veno, Thomas HD, Queasy, but the high ground ruled strong. Jacob, so much just happened in that game. I need some people to help us out. So, Frankie, what did we miss?
I don't think you missed a moment, boys. That was a fantastic first game. And so exciting to see all the changes at the top of high ground. But in the end, Levin, it came down to Jabil's planning with those 2 med kits to his name.
I mean, yeah, heal off beats all at the end of the day, right? I don't think we expected to see a bunch of that. To be fair, I think a lot of people would almost forgotten the possibility. The possibilities of heal off. That endgame was going almost very typical, I'd say, in many ways, right? We had Sky and Scroll, the team that had eliminated Manabuka and Mustache, so they had that Grimgate loot, and when that team decides to go for height, it's typically, jobs are good and games done. But the Bull and Relvis said, nah. We don't play by those rules. We're going to do our own thing with these medkits. And, I mean, they were hunting in this endgame. You see here when they took down Kami and Seti, like, they didn't just passively, pass their way by Mini. They really took it by force.
Yeah, they really did. And it was those eliminations right there that really secured them, the amount of refreshes, the amount of materials, those medkits that they needed to go on to win that game. Absolutely beautifully played from these guys. And just the thought, in game 1 of Grand Finals, when the lights are as bright as they've been all season, to just think, right, let's just calm down, let's go into the storm, let's take these medkits and hope that it works out. Of course, it did work out for them. We haven't seen too much from these guys this season. They haven't been popping off, starring on the top of the leaderboards, but they're definitely a duo to look out for this weekend, clearly, because they know how to play that low ground so well.
I was so excited to see how aggressive our duos were straight out the gate. And Swizzy and Vanya, they were a personal highlight for me.
Wow.
Just fighting all the way to the top. I particularly enjoy them taking out Snozy and Podesai and Mini Miner. And I love the use of the Icarus wings as well.
Look at this. We haven't seen this. I have not seen this happen in this level of FNCS lobby this season yet. We haven't seen wings too much in play, and I'm sure we'll speak about those. But the way that they took height here, the way that they took it upon themselves to stay on the backside of zone, then sneak attack onto the high ground team was absolutely perfect. Unfortunately, they didn't have the materials, the minerals to stay up there, so they had to drop on down, which of course was their demise at the end. But it shows this team are confident. This is exactly what we expect from both of these guys, because they're two of the best fighters in the region, right? We expect big things, and they showed it to us there in game 1.
Ruthless aggression is the way you describe those guys right now.
Yeah, so many ruthlessly aggressive duos. Let's take a look, though, at who managed to aggress their way up the leaderboard during that match. It was certainly a lot of teams who maybe hadn't come close to impressing us, or maybe have impressed us so far this season, but haven't necessarily taken a championship. They actually were coming out on top in that one. I mean, Sky and Scroll, I have to say, Levin, were incredibly impressive. They have been threatening the top all season long, but when it counts, they are performing.
I mean, they were the beneficiaries of a problem Manabuka and Mustache have had consistently, right? We've spoken about it before in previous weeks. Manabuka and Mustache struggle on Surge, and so they desperately tried to take a fight with Sky and Scroll, and they were like, no, we're not going to just be pushed over. They win that fight, and so they have that Grimgate loot now, and so they say, okay, what do we do with Grimgate loot? We play for high ground, and they did it incredibly well. Big props to Sky and Scroll, of course. They were landing at Reckless Railways throughout the season, decided not to go there and deal with Janice and Flixie. A lot of question marks about that, right? Because they did that exact same thing. Last grand finals, it didn't quite work out for them. So a lot of people were going, hold on a minute, like, what is the game plan here? But things seems to be going pretty all right. Again, will they be able to fight Manabuka and Mustache every game and get that Grimgate loot? Probably not. This will probably be one of the better games they have throughout the weekend. But I think they made, the most of the situation for sure.
Yeah, and you have to do that. When you do get that Grimgate coin, when you do get that Grimgate shotgun, it has to be a good game from you guys. There's always that pressure on your shoulders of like, right, okay, we've got the best loot in the game. We have to do well here. I think the zones definitely helped them as well. Definitely were in their favor down there towards the south side of the map, the sort of southwest area. But they used it to perfection. As you mentioned, Levin, I was a bit shocked about them actually switching their drop spot away from Reckless Railways. I thought they're landing more towards like the east side, down the south of the map there at Snooty Steps. And I was like, is this really going to be the best option for them? But it seems like they're able to make something out of a game no matter what. So this is a duo I'm definitely going to be looking forward to seeing more of this weekend.
And in 15th position, we have our debut finalist, Chap, with his more experienced duo partner, Teeny. And they went for that high ground. And I absolutely loved in that game hearing Jacob and Takata be like, it's Chap, it's Teeny. And then immediately they're knocked off their perch, I think, by Swissy and Banyak Mini Miner coming to spoil the party. But do you think they made enough of a statement in game number 1?
100%, yeah. I was looking at this team. They were 200 above Surge, and that first Storm Surge popped, and I was like, right, this is great for this team, because I know that, going into that first Grand Finals game, it's going to be very, very difficult for a first-time Grand Finalist in Chap to keep his nerve, to keep calm, but they seemed to approach the Storm Surge really well. They weren't just mindlessly jumping in boxes. They weren't taking too many risks, but they were taking those sort of mid-game fights that definitely enabled them to stay above, and then, of course, take height.
Okay, well, let's see if Chap and Teeny can impress you in this next game as we head back to Jacob and Takata.
What a tall task. You guys are really making them step up to the plate, really hit it out of the park yet again. But congratulations one more time. The Buell's first VR in an FNCS Finals really topples almost everything we were talking about on the day to kind of who's going to win, who's going to do good. We didn't mention them, and they showed us.
It's a great confidence booster as well, right? Being your first VR in a grand finals. But let's see if that momentum can continue forward because the battle bus is ready for game number 2.
Also, Takata, throughout that game, and for everybody watching at home, it was almost a battle of our high-dominant teams. Almost the top 5 in that last game. Risk and Svi, Swizzy and Vanyak, Seti and Cammy. And overall, it was won by Sky and Scroll in the end. Unfortunately, they just weren't able to close it out, but you're seeing real shines of greatness from so many players here today.
Starting off once again, shining through the Mount Olympus here. Thomas HD Queasy finished off the early game engagement quickly and instantly just started continuing on their loot path. Will they be able to do it again, though? That's the big question.
Yeah, it almost seems like, I wouldn't say they left early, but they got the loot that they were safely able to get. Maybe a couple shots at Mount Olympus and then went straight for that bunker, which they were obviously met by another one of our top teams here in this lobby, which they had to kind of disengage from. But you're seeing a lot of the adaptations coming out from Queasy and Thomas, which you didn't really see a lot of up until this point. So I'm glad to see a team as great as they have continues to kind of mix it up in the biggest moment of it all.
Trexer, though, has lost Glubski, which is dangerous, especially having so many duos close by. Clownski lost Axe Force as well. Both solos now head-to-head.
He's just going to kind of go on the chase, but maybe he should have just protected himself just a little bit more. Clownski quickly turning around, making him regret that decision. And luckily for him, you can see they're just on the outside of Mount Olympus. So none of those teams realistically should try to venture over, finish off the solo. So I think he has a great shot at getting his teammate back.
Sky Scroll, we saw what they were capable of in game 1. But to make it happen once again, they have to get out of this early game. Shots coming through the windows. You can tell how well they know how to play their drop in terms of rotating through, covering themselves, but will they full-on commit to this engagement? I'm not quite sure.
I'm almost not even sure, like, how realistic it is. I see Toos was trying to put down some of that cover fire and a whole nother duo right below. And once you kind of hear all that, you notice each other, and you notice it's not going to be as safe as it was. Pleasant Park, either a fight that we saw in the beginning of that last game. And honestly, I think there's another team here towards Pleasant Piazza that may have started out in fencing fields in last game. Finn and Avo.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It's interesting. It seems like normally in a grand finals, you don't see players switching up their drop of game plan too much because there was so much prep and work that was put into it. But sometimes, I guess, just after one game, it might be enough to change your mind.
Surprised to see like everybody kind of disengaging out of Pleasant Piazza for now, but it's very, very busy. At least 4 teams in this direction. So I'm personally a little bit surprised not to see too many early engagements going down. But with an extra team over in the mix, it does make it a little bit more risky.
Ooh. Look at this. Grim Gate looking a lot more aggressive this time around. Before it was more pop shots from different areas. One duo grabbed the height, other just tried and secure the medallion. Looks like Malibu Khmer Stash got quite a few tags off, but not enough for them to feel comfortable enough to go fully in. The Underworld, another place contested by 3 duos, one of them being Marius and Sangilt. It looks like from those 3 duos, there's only one left, and it might even just be one player. Where's Turtle's duo?
Trying to see where Cheeps is at.
Ooh,
he's actually on the
actually
high
up
ground.
above.
Yep, using that water bending ability to try to couple more damage. Marius knocks him down to size. A couple of shots are going to get through, and the knock is going to be achieved along with the elimination. Marius and Sango continue to find ways to operate at the Underworld. It looks like he might have even boxed up Turtle here for the moment. They're ready to go in. Turtle's ready to go out as him and Cheeps run in game 2 quickly comes to an end.
Turtle put back into his shell, now forced to wait for the 3rd game as we quickly switch on over. Nefrizzi Howley looking to see what they can clean up.
A lot of these early game fights, and No eliminations just yet, but that is some big damage onto the Frixie. Pixie's there trying to back him up. Howley's also trying to join the mix, alleviate some of the pressure, but quick thinking, quick shots coming out from Pixie. Both of these players are basically down and out, and you can see them trying to attack from many different angles, and Walks, while being distracted by Pixie, is able to easily clean up both of those eliminations and defend their turf.
Great way to continue it through. Dexia Eclipse now playing extremely aggressive on this duo on the edge of the map. You know there's not too many teams close by, so they should have a lot of freedom here if they end up wanting to close it out. But so far it looks like it's pop shots, it's angles trying to be found.
Yeah, a lot of time, like you said, over at this side of the map, knowing you have a ton of comfortability, knowing it's not going to be third parties. It's basically down to a 2v2, which hopefully a lot of these players have practiced up until this point. Splash is down below, just trying to make space for himself and his duo. Eclipse and Dexy just continuously trying to hound from multiple angles, catch him off guard. And you can see they're playing very, very careful with the high ground, so that way when it comes down to it, they can easily try to disengage on out, knowing that they got enough damage to where they can at least feel comfortable from here on out.
It's a great way to start it off as we go back over to the Grim Gate. We talked about it previously. There is kind of that Grim Reaper, as Frankie called them, for Doxy and Trip, who play on the outskirts of the Grim Gate and come into attack as everybody else is fighting as a potential third or fourth party. But you can see how much loot they've actually secured already, and shields and everything. I mean, they're looking quite healthy. Only ammunition is what they're lacking. But it looks like they might have been being chased here on the minimap. Yeah, shots coming in from Vostroki, the waterbending mythic. But it looks like they're just right behind Murstache and Malabuka, wanting to claim that bunker.
That's where I like watching a lot of these forecast fires. Towers fights kind of go down. Very, very similar to the Grim Gates ones. You get a lot of knowledge, and Teeny and Chap yet again are going to get back-to-back forecast towers in these games, and already you see them 15th place on that leaderboard. So a huge tool in their tool belt to continue to make it long and far into these end games, especially when it comes to being able to go to the slower side of that rotation of the zone, knowing where and when to kind of attack it. For Doxy's shields getting dropped off by Murstache on the other side. Him and Malabuka just trying to take multiple angles, and the thing is, they don't necessarily know this is Tripper and Ferdoxy, but Tripper and Ferdoxy might have a huge clue, thanks to the medallion, that this is Murstache and Malabuka, so they're able to plan accordingly.
So far, no warnings of a big threat, as shots continue to be shot from both ends. No danger for either duo yet. It's kind of that back and forth that we see around these bunkers, time in and time out. And until a big shot's connected, you can choose to continue that momentum and play extra aggressive, but if nothing happens, it might just be a little bit of damage for both duos.
Yeah, what's worrisome is what you kind of mentioned moments ago is the ammunition for Tripper and Ferdoxy. It is not a ton in his Thunderburst and even less in his Gatekeeper. So both of these guys are kind of on the clock when it comes to how long they can actually stay in this situation. And I was wondering where Cammy was at because I was watching the feed. Said he was taken down. He was taken out altogether. Kind of leaves a lot on the shoulders of Cammy. With the zone moving towards the north, it's not going to be too hard for him to try to get the reboot card back, but you could see the big thing in his path. It might look like the card is being camped for now, hoping that Cammy goes back for it, and he's hoping that maybe that's where he's going to get a second elimination.
This is a tough spot to be in so far in zone, especially with the amount of damage they have to secure. We'll see if they make the comeback, but let's get right back to the party. Looks like another duo has joined, but so far they're just kind of taking a peek at it, deciding is it worth it to commit to.
Yeah, they're probably just waiting right now until they hear big damage, see a knock on their screen. And the thing is, these two guys, two teams down below fighting over the bunker may not even necessarily know where these guys are positioned right on the outside. Cammy now went back for the card. It was actually being watched on over. And this is a big chance with his opponent weak for him to kind of come out on top. Depending on if you got the reboot card or not, don't necessarily mind the disengage either. But definitely Cammy is now going to be on the clock with only 2 bananas left.
On the other end, Merstash has gone down, Trip as well. It's a 1 versus 1. Frodoxy up against Malibuca. Third party is still on the outskirts, and they're going to be getting closer.
And the trade for trade. Now you got Fastroki coming in on the other side. Malibuca goes right back on in, taking down Frodoxy and Triprin, but ends up in another 1v2 situation with even less shields than he had before. Quick thinking, going in and out of the box, trying to reposition himself, and he's in a spot right now with another third-party team coming in. That could be the distraction that he needs to figure out a way to stay alive here, because there's a lot of fallen loot on those players from before, and there's even probably some scraps left over in the bunker.
Instant disengagement, though, after that elimination. Bunkering out, gonna get secured in Malibuca. Only thing he got was those 2 eliminations from Trip and Frodoxy. Lost his duo partner in the meantime.
Uh-oh. How long is Malibuca gonna wait right now? Does he know that team is there? Just so many questions right now, Takata.
Yeah, I'd like to hope that he does. I'm not sure. I believe he got the cards. He has the dashes. So he is going to get chased, but I was going to say the bright side is if he gets chased out of the zone, it's likely that they stop chasing after a while. But as he gets closer and closer to the zone, especially with the river of sticks, that water that grants you those dashes, I don't see them stopping anytime soon.
Oh, Malibuca is actually trying to hide, get a little bit of a cheeky shot, and quickly dashes on back, but sooner or later he's going to run out of those dashes and need to re-reach the water, and that's why he's taking a little bit of a detour in this building, trying to regenerate as much of that sprint as possible. Roban for a moment there ran out himself, but he's still just hot on the chase for Malibuca until he finally goes down. It's going to be a big elimination for Fastroki and Roban.
Let's take a look at what happened to Cammy here. With this attempt to get back to the zone. How did... Well, that's one way to pick up an elimination, I guess. Nice shots from the DMR.
And I think, depending on how long it took, because said he was down for quite a while, but I know Cammy at least made one effort to go in before disengaging that far out. If he has this reboot card, gets close to zone, it is going to be a 1-tick. He has the legendary banana for speed, he has the Flowberry Fizz, and then he has multiple opportunities here for damage. This is almost like a replay of last Major's Malibuca qualifier to where he went in the zone. He stayed in there for a long time while still getting surge. So that way, if he does get the reboot back up, they're not going to be so far down that Storm Surge threshold having to fight their way back up.
Luckily enough, medkits are in the inventory, so they'll be able to recuperate all the shield they're using to take this later rotate in the zone. Veno and Tayson in a similar situation. A lot of duos just kind of doing what they can to get the zone safely here and be in a position that is not going to put them on the most congested side of zone.
Chucking some medkits just a little bit later on, try to keep them moving. They're not too far off from the zone. It's not going to do too much damage. And you see there's just one solo player rotating just to the east of them, trying to make their way there. Hopefully he doesn't get spotted out by Veno and Tayson. Their team, you can almost for sure count on them to try to pounce on a solo if they see that opportunity. And in the distance, finally he's getting spotted out, and it's Cammy of all people by himself. He's already put in a lot of work to not only get the reboot card back, but take down the opponent who took down Seti. So to go down now would just be a huge disaster for Cammy and Seti.
I think they're far enough that it's not going to be a danger for Cammy yet. They don't even look like they're going to try and hold him in the zone. With fourth zone now coming to a close, though, you can see Storm Surge. Tace and Veno, though, looks like they're not going to be as much in a rush as they were last game, being such on the borderline, but Debuel, on the other hand, might have to do a bit more.
Game number 1 victors. You got to be feeling so good. Come in, get your first VR in FNCS Finals history for yourself. teammate has to be feeling confident. 97 points. All they have to do realistically is just kind of keep up the pace. A lot of the teams, that we expected to have good games in game one did not necessarily, and I feel like it's only a matter of time before those things start to switch up. So if they can just continue to stay ahead of their competition, like I said, day one, all about building that cushion for day two, where there is a point multiplier for both eliminations and placement points overall.
Maniac getting tagged as he was continuing to look for those shots. They do have that one elimination already, so hopefully not in too much of an urgency to find a lot more, but just 9 seconds until fifth zone will appear, forcing a lot of these duos to rotate.
And Vanyak already so far has about 1,700 damage up until this point in game two. 3 eliminations. Him and Swizzy just figuring always out a way to make things work throughout this competition. You're going to see a far pull for some of these teams, all while still having to worry about Storm Surge in this next zone, Takata.
Yeah, it's a difficult spot to be in. Taking a look at the leaderboard too, it's so close, all these duos. But you can't even think of it that way with so many matches to be played out. It's all about being able to get out of these situations consistently. Queasy Thomas HD lining up a 3-2-1 into walks. A few shots connected, but no crack.
I really like how they've been able to adapt in game one with a different zone. You see them yet again adapting with their loadout. No wings this time around. Trying to take an extra heal. Obviously, the Flowberry Fizz is going to be a must for some of these rotations, and they're not too far off from zone. So as long as they can work on their Storm Surge, and my question instantly answered, 400 above, Thomas and Queasy have to be in such a great position in this game to possibly get a top 5, top 10. That's where this team has to start getting those consistent placements towards the top of the leaderboard. You cannot win an FNCS off of eliminations alone.
Yeah, if any duo is going to capitalize on having a bunch of damage so early on, it's Thomas HD and Queasy. They know how to play out a grand finals. They've done it multiple times. And I wouldn't be surprised if, like you said, they have a huge match here. Skavi, though, nice 105 onto Vortexers. Falco now trying to give him a bit of time to breathe.
$113. Not too off from the zone. Scroll is just having a little bit more of a rough time trying to stay alive, but on the other side, it's Chap versus Scroll, essentially in a 1v1 situation. It might be a little bit of a trade for the rebuy, but Scroll realized he doesn't want to let this trade go out for free. He did not have the advantage in terms of that revive, so if they were going to go for a trade, he would be put in a 1v2 much quicker than the other side as Sky finally gets cleaned up. Teeny goes down as well, so it's official. They will be left as solos no matter what happens in this fight, as Scroll just trying to fight his way back. Almost surviving with the legendary banana. Both of these players popping that banana, and it kept them with just a sliver of HP. That's going to be a huge win for Chap, but it's only going to be short-lived because right now he's getting aggressed on yet again.
You said it yourself. The win must have felt good, but only for a couple seconds till shots came through from Urban. The thing is, I don't think Urban actually tagged Chap, so he did not know how low he was. Also, being in the zone is going to cause him to rotate right back in. There is another duo sneaking up. So much damage has been dealt by Chap and Teeny that they don't have to worry about tags, but Skavi and Haris, nice pickup onto Vortexers. Volko maybe followed on shortly after, but the pressure is still on for those duos.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough for them to kind of get that reboot or revive back on up, heal up, and get a good position in the zone. And so you see teams like this, as soon as the zone begins to move, they go into those rifts, they immediately try to cover as much distance as possible. But you can see they're getting tagged in from some high positions off the side of that mountain. So as good a position as they could have got, they got to settle for this, which isn't too bad as long as Marius can start to heal up and alleviate some of the pressure that is bound to come.
Scary shot got connected. Let's see if Chap was able to do it. No. It looks like he actually might have been able to. He got both elims and the reboot onto his duo. A little pack of loot llamas knocking on his door that he picked up. Hopefully now that's going to give him enough to make it back into zone. Cammy, though, still left alone.
That was a huge elimination. Unfortunately, short-lived. They did just get taken down as well. But it just goes to show the potential of this team. They can fight any fight. They can almost get out of any situation. But when you're put into sour situation after sour situation, eventually those will kind of get the best of you. As Cammy, we've seen him literally almost at the start of the game up until now as a solo. And this is going to be some big points here for Cammy and Seti if they're able to kind of get these impact points that Cammy's looking for by himself.
Thomas HT, though, taking a peek. I don't know if he's seen Cammy as he's shooting at the duos behind him, but Cammy's done such a great job of making it into zone here before his opponents, and not a single shot has landed onto him. Shows you how useful that Flowberry Fizz can be if you put a great mind alongside it.
Now they see him.
And now
they finally saw him as soon as he got past enemy lines. Queasy was like, hey, did you see this guy back here? Thomas said, nah, I don't. Is he a solo? Now if they don't have the information that Cammy even got there, they might not even know that he's a solo by himself. He's built boxes too wide, so it's going to be easy for him to cloud himself. But you see Queasy and Thomas, now that they noticed his location, they are moving over in that direction because they don't want to let anybody get past them for free. They waited till the zone opened up, then they moved to cover that position. That way they have the best and safest line of sight.
You can see what happened to Cringe here. Looks like it was a solo knocking on his door, but quickly turned lethal as they picked up their 5th elim of the match.
Doing good. Uncontested Lavish Layer. No longer Queasy and Thomas landing over on that side of the map, which gives them a lot of freedom, a lot of flexibility. It's almost in the center map with multiple bunker options. So if they can play their cards right, they can definitely kind of come out with some great points here in this game. It's Tace and Veno. With some of the struggles from them going down relatively early in that last game, or at least earlier than they would hoped, it's going to be a big moment for them to pop off, start to build that momentum, and really carry it on with them to the second half of the day.
You see zone hands pulled towards Thomas HD and Queasy here. That 8th zone is all the duos now. Try and prep their rotation to get there. Just 7 seconds till zone starts closing. Swizzy Vanyak. Look at their loadout. Look at their materials. Even the mobility. They have it all.
Swizzy and Vanyak, they had a definitely good game as Cammy tripling his points already with a couple teams going down. Nice shot right there. 119. Giving him a little bit more confidence when it comes to that Storm Surge. And eventually it might start to build up to where he can go for elimination if he does find a player by himself, a Splash and Feint. To be 3rd place in that game 1. Down on Surge. Easily covers that gap. Does look like his teammate was getting aggressed on. He's quickly there to save the day. That first shot did so much because look how much his teammate survived with. If he didn't land that shot, his teammate would have for sure went down.
Banana dropped. HP recuperated, but for how long? After saving his teammate, now he's the one that needs saving. Both players gone down. Difficult rotate in. Marius, Sandguild are going to be the ones that capitalized on that, as they have to be careful, though. So many duos surrounding them. I'm not even sure if they can get the loot.
Marius is being very, very careful. I don't know if he heard you talking about how dangerous it was. Quickly turns around, builds the wall. And now he's just feeling it out 1 layer at a time before he moves forward. One of the first teams to rotate, though, is going to be Tayson and Veno, trying to get the slower, at least congested side of the zone. There is a couple teams meeting them in their path, a little bit of high ground, but currently distracted. This would be the perfect time for them to try to move forward, but Veno with a snipe in hand, just kind of waiting. This is something that he does, him and Tayson. They target out that high ground team, which right now looks like to be Queasy and Thomas.
We talked about how healthy they were looking, how good of a match this could be for Queasy and Thomas. But what have I just done? As soon as I say it, Thomas HD gets knocked and Queasy as well.
Oh, disaster strikes yet again for Thomas and Queasy from 2nd place by 1 point to having a nightmare of a first day throughout 2 games. But Cammy, he's really trying to make up for his teammate going down early. 24 points as a solo so far. 28 if you count his elimination that he was able to get early on. Still making things happen. But Cringe, Noms, 5 eliminations so far. They have the biggest control over the high ground. But I don't want to say it too soon. Last game we saw 4 or 5 teams and you already see one waiting in the wings to steal it away.
You could even see Benno Tacing not only getting ahead, also moving up layers, getting closer and closer to that second height, where they have a potential angle with the sniper rifle for height. Marius left alone, forced to pop the banana, and he's going to play back a zone here.
Yeah, no troubles yet. Just staggering himself. That way he can have a clear field straight ahead. He finds another Flowberry Fizz, which isn't much, but one charge is better than none, as Marius trying to make it in towards the zone. Doesn't have a lot of build to protect himself, especially if he gets pounced on like this. Barely had enough. But now with his HP being dwindled, not enough shields to get him back up to full HP, and no builds to his name as well. Marius has to find some sort of elimination.
Continues to break on in, but as the clock keeps ticking, the zone keeps pulling further, and his materials now drop to 0. He needs an impact frag, he needs an elimination, but he gets dropped down to 6 HP. Shots continuing from above. Goes down. Cammy now left alone.
Yeah, it was Pink and Vico who sniped away that elimination and get a chance to get the Underworld Medallion. And a team like Pink and Vico with the ability to have Siphon will be huge, especially when they just take down Venno, truck right through him, separating him and Tayson, who went down as well. Another run has been ended by one of the most consistent teams in Major 2.
This is a lethal duo in the late game, especially when they're both up. They have the chemistry. They know how to secure elimination after elimination on the low ground, and they're going to do exactly that.
Which is big. They've had only one elimination in game 1, playing a little bit slow, but now is the time to pick up the pace. Cammy having a wonderful game, 44 points. All that's a solo since the start of the game, reaching to a top 6 position. Still has some bandages left, and right now he's trying to target out high ground. That's that's Vaniac and Swizzy, there, who spotted him out at the tail end. Even though they're getting chopped down, it's no worries for them.
This is incredible. Top 6 already as a solo, basically. Cammy, he's not even done yet. Sees a duo, forced to back down. Shots from above, no materials, not many options. Eventually gonna drop. It's Pink, it's Vico, but Vico goes down as well. Pink gets the knock on Vanille as he continues his wrath.
No Siphon coming out from Pink. They weren't able to get the medallion, and I think that is going to be it, barring any miracles, as Pink gets shut down, taken out. It's Swizzy, it's Vaniac there on the high ground, and they're targeting out Reason, who's all by himself, all by his lonesome, and stood no chance against Swizzy and Vaniac, who steal away game 2.
Double-digit 11 elimination victory royale. This is one of the duos we talked about in the honorable mentions that could take home Major 2 as champions. They drop at Brawlers Battleground, and from southern part of the map all the way to up north, they secured the VR.